For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On May 14, 1988, the Yamamoto family, Father Hiroshi, 42, Mother Keiko, 38, and their teenage son Takashi, 16, disappeared during their attempt to reach Everest base camp from the Nepalese side. The experienced Japanese mountaineers had been part of a larger expedition when they became separated from their group during a sudden storm at high altitude. Despite extensive search efforts by Sherpa guides and international rescue teams, no trace of the family was ever found in the treacherous Himalayan terrain. For 28 years, their disappearance remained one of the most puzzling mysteries in modern Everest climbing history, occasionally discussed in mountaineering circles and Japanese media. Then, in September 2016, a team of climbers making a new route attempt discovered something chilling preserved in the ice that would finally reveal the extraordinary circumstances behind the Yamamoto family's fate. This is the complete story of their disappearance and the frozen secret that had been hidden high on the world's tallest mountain for nearly 3 decades. May 14, 1988, began with favorable weather conditions at Everest Base Camp, located at 5,364 meters above sea level in the Khumbu region of Nepal. The Yamamoto family had arrived as part of a Japanese commercial expedition organized by Tokyo-based Alpine Adventures, a company specializing in high-altitude climbing experiences for experienced mountaineers. Hiroshi Yamamoto was a respected alpinist who had successfully climbed several major peaks throughout Japan and had been planning an Everest attempt for over 3 years. His wife Keiko was equally experienced, having completed challenging climbs in the Japanese Alps and having trained extensively for the physical demands of high-altitude mountaineering. Their son Takashi, despite being only 16, was already an accomplished climber who had summited several peaks over 3,000 meters in Japan. The family's decision to attempt Everest together was unusual but not unprecedented, as Japanese climbing culture emphasized family participation in outdoor activities and shared achievement of challenging goals. The expedition included 12 Japanese climbers and was led by veteran guide Toshio Nakamura, who had successfully guided clients to Everest's summit on 4 previous occasions. The group had been acclimatizing at various altitudes for 2 weeks and was preparing for their summit attempt when weather conditions began to deteriorate. On the morning of May 14th, the expedition departed base camp for advanced base camp at 6,400 meters, following the standard acclimatization schedule that would prepare climbers for the extreme altitude and challenging conditions higher on the mountain. The route from base camp to advanced base camp typically took experienced climbers 6 to 8 hours, following established paths through the Khumbu icefall and across the western Khum. The Yamamoto family was traveling in the middle of the expedition group, maintaining steady progress and showing no signs of altitude-related problems. Weather conditions began changing around noon, with increasing wind speeds and cloud cover that reduced visibility throughout the climbing route. Expedition leader Nakamura made the decision to continue toward advanced base camp rather than retreat, as weather windows on Everest were unpredictable and the group needed to maintain their acclimatization schedule. Around 2:30 p.m., as the expedition was crossing a section of the western Khum known for its complex crevasse systems, sudden whiteout conditions developed that reduced visibility to less than 5 meters. The extreme weather forced climbers to rope together in smaller groups and proceed very carefully to avoid falling into hidden crevasses. In the confusion caused by the sudden storm, expedition members became separated into several smaller groups. When visibility improved approximately 2 hours later, expedition leader Nakamura conducted a headcount and discovered that the Yamamoto family was missing from the main group. Radio communication attempts failed to establish contact with Hiroshi, Keiko, and Takashi, though the storm conditions made electronic communication unreliable throughout the area. Other expedition members reported last seeing the family approximately 1 hour before the whiteout conditions developed. The initial search began immediately, with Sherpa guides and experienced expedition members retracing the route to locate the missing family. The western Khum's complex terrain included numerous areas where climbers might seek shelter during storms, but also contained deadly crevasses and unstable ice formations that could trap or kill anyone who fell into them. Search efforts were hampered by continuing poor weather conditions and the extreme altitude, which limited the time searchers could spend at high elevation without risking their own safety. The thin air at 6,000 plus meters made extended physical exertion extremely dangerous, requiring careful management of search operations. Sherpa guides familiar with the area's geography conducted systematic searches of likely shelter locations, including ice caves and protected areas where experienced climbers might wait out severe weather. However, the Western Cum's vast scale and complex topography made comprehensive searching nearly impossible. Radio communications were established with base camp and other expedition groups in the area, requesting assistance and coordination of expanded search efforts. The international climbing community on Everest responded with offers of personnel and equipment to help locate the missing Japanese family. After 3 days of intensive searching involving over 50 people, the formal rescue operation was scaled back due to extreme weather conditions and the low probability of finding survivors after extended exposure to temperatures below -30°C at high altitude. The investigation into the family's disappearance focused on understanding what might have caused experienced climbers to become separated from their group during the storm. All 3 Yamamotos were skilled mountaineers familiar with high-altitude conditions and emergency procedures. Interviews with other expedition members revealed that the family had been following proper safety protocols and had shown no signs of altitude sickness or other problems that might have slowed their progress or impaired their judgment during the critical period before the storm. The weather conditions on May 14th were analyzed to understand how quickly the whiteout had developed and whether the family might have had time to establish emergency shelter before visibility became completely compromised. Meteorological data showed that the storm had intensified much faster than typical weather patterns. Equipment found along the search route included some gear that may have belonged to the Yamamoto family, but positive identification was impossible due to the similarity of mountaineering equipment used by all expedition members and the harsh conditions that quickly damaged or buried any abandoned items. The theory that emerged was that the family had either fallen into a crevasse during the whiteout conditions or had sought shelter in a location that became inaccessible due to shifting ice or avalanche activity triggered by the storm. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, the Yamamoto family's disappearance became part of Everest climbing lore, occasionally mentioned in mountaineering publications and Japanese media coverage of Himalayan expeditions. Their case represented the unpredictable dangers that even experienced climbers faced in the world's most challenging environment. Advances in search technology, including GPS tracking and improved communication systems, offered hope that similar disappearances might be resolved more quickly in the future. However, these developments couldn't help locate the Yamamoto family after the fact. In 2003, human remains found in the Khumbu icefall initially raised hopes for resolution, but forensic analysis determined they belonged to a different climber who had died in the 1970s. Such discoveries were not uncommon on Everest, where the extreme cold preserved bodies for decades while shifting ice occasionally exposed remains from previous climbing seasons. The Japanese Alpine Club maintained memorials for the Yamamoto family and supported search and rescue improvements on Everest, though the mountain's extreme conditions continued to claim lives regularly despite technological advances and improved safety protocols. Climate change effects on Everest during the 2000s and 2010s caused significant changes in ice formations and route conditions, occasionally exposing areas that had been buried for decades and raising possibilities that evidence from old disappearances might eventually surface. September 12, 2016, began as a route exploration day for an international climbing team attempting to establish a new approach to Everest summit via a previously unclimbed line on the mountain's north face. The team included experienced alpinists from several countries working to map potential routes for future expeditions. Team leader Dr. Sarah Chen, a Canadian glaciologist with extensive Himalayan experience, was leading a reconnaissance mission to assess ice conditions and route feasibility at approximately 7,200 meters elevation, well above the area where most commercial expeditions operated. Around 11:30 a.m., while examining ice formations near a steep cliff face, team member Andreas Müller noticed unusual coloration in the ice that suggested the presence of foreign materials. Upon closer investigation, the discoloration appeared to be fabric and equipment embedded in ancient ice layers. The discovery site was located in an area where avalanche debris and wind-blown snow had accumulated over many years, creating thick ice formations that preserved anything trapped within them. The extreme cold and lack of oxygen at that altitude meant that organic materials could remain intact for decades. Careful excavation of the ice revealed what appeared to be mountaineering equipment and personal items that had been frozen in place for many years. Most significantly, the team discovered identification documents and personal belongings that bore Japanese names and dated to the late 1980s. The climbing team immediately recognized the potential significance of their discovery and contacted Nepalese authorities and the Japanese Alpine Club about the find. Within days, a specialized recovery team with forensic expertise was organized to examine the site and extract evidence properly. The recovery operation required extreme technical skill due to the site's elevation, dangerous terrain, and the need to preserve evidence while working in life-threatening conditions. Each team member could work for only short periods before requiring rest and supplemental oxygen. Items recovered from the ice included mountaineering equipment, personal belongings, and identification documents that definitively linked the discovery to the missing Yamamoto family. Most remarkably, the extreme conditions had preserved materials that would normally decompose completely in other environments. The most chilling discovery was a series of photographs found in a camera that had been protected by its waterproof case. When developed, the images showed the final days of the Yamamoto family's ordeal, documenting their survival efforts and their gradual deterioration in conditions that ultimately proved fatal. The photographs revealed that the family had not died immediately during the 1988 storm, but had survived for several days in an improvised shelter before succumbing to the extreme altitude and cold. Their final images showed them together, supporting each other through their ordeal. Forensic analysis confirmed that the remains and personal items belonged to Hiroshi, Keiko, and Takashi Yamamoto. The preservation conditions at extreme altitude had maintained evidence that provided unprecedented insight into their final days and the circumstances of their deaths. Investigation of the discovery site revealed that the family had been trapped by avalanche activity triggered by the May 1988 storm. Rather than falling into a crevasse as originally theorized, they had been caught in snow and ice flows that buried them in what became their tomb for 28 years. Evidence showed that the family had survived the initial avalanche and had worked together to create emergency shelter using their equipment and available materials. Their resourcefulness and mountaineering skills had kept them alive for several days longer than would have been possible for less experienced climbers. The location where they were found was approximately 800 meters higher than where they were last seen, indicating they had been carried upward by avalanche debris or had climbed seeking shelter before being trapped by subsequent snow and ice accumulation. Personal items found with the family included letters they had written to relatives in Japan during their final days, providing heartbreaking insight into their thoughts and emotions as they faced their fate together on the world's highest mountain. The discovery brought closure to the Yamamoto family's relatives in Japan, who had maintained hope for answers for nearly 3 decades. While learning the circumstances of their deaths was painful, the evidence showed that Hiroshi, Keiko, and Takashi had faced their final challenge together with courage and mutual support. The case highlighted both the extreme preservation capabilities of high-altitude environments and the unpredictable nature of avalanche dangers on Everest. The family's survival skills had extended their lives significantly, but ultimately could not overcome the mountain's harsh conditions. Dr. Chen's climbing team was recognized by both Nepalese and Japanese authorities for their careful handling of the discovery and their respect for the cultural and personal significance of the find. Their technical expertise had made the recovery possible under extremely challenging conditions. The Yamamoto family's story became a powerful reminder of both human resilience and the ultimate power of natural forces in extreme environments. Their 28-year preservation in ice provided unique insights into high-altitude survival and the effects of extreme cold on human remains. The Japanese mountaineering community honored the family's memory with expanded safety protocols and improved emergency shelter techniques for high-altitude climbing. Their experience contributed to better understanding of avalanche survival and emergency shelter construction. The story of Hiroshi, Keiko, and Takashi Yamamoto serves as both a tragedy and a testament to family bonds and survival determination in the face of insurmountable natural forces. Their shared mountaineering passion led them to attempt one of climbing's greatest challenges, where they faced their fate together with remarkable courage. The 28-year delay in discovering their remains illustrates the extraordinary preservation capabilities of extreme high-altitude environments, where ice and cold can maintain evidence indefinitely while hiding it from searchers. Their discovery was possible only through the chance intersection of route exploration and changing ice conditions. For Everest climbing operations and international mountain rescue organizations, the case provided crucial insights into avalanche survival, the importance of emergency shelter skills, and the need for improved tracking systems for climbers in dangerous areas. The persistence of family members and the Japanese climbing community in maintaining memorials and supporting search efforts contributed to the recognition of the discovery as significant when evidence finally emerged after nearly 3 decades. The case demonstrates how shared passion for mountaineering can unite families in both triumph and tragedy, with the Yamamoto family's final days showing their mutual support and determination even in hopeless circumstances. High-altitude research continues on Everest, with scientists now more aware of both the mountain's preservation capabilities and the potential for discovering evidence from historical climbing incidents. The intersection of glaciology, forensic science, and mountaineering provided unprecedented insights into extreme survival situations. As of 2016, improved avalanche prediction and emergency communication systems help protect modern Everest climbers from similar fates, though the mountain's fundamental dangers remain unchanged. The Yamamoto family's story continues to educate climbers about avalanche risks and the importance of emergency preparedness in extreme environments. Their legacy lives on through safety improvements and the profound respect their story generates for both the power of family bonds and the ultimate authority of the world's highest and most unforgiving mountain.